I saw Alexa on Easter and had the chance to talk with her and her mom over coffee and dessert after Easter dinner. Since Alexa's mom is from the US, Alexa is very familiar with American culture, but I can tell that she more strongly identifies as Mexican. I wanted to know if she felt stereotyped as a Mexican in the United States, since there are so many ignorant people who want to build a wall. This movement is an indicator of the painfully negative view the United States has of Mexico and Mexican people. When I ask her if she feels that people stereotype her because she is Mexican, she says, quote, "People don't classify me as Mexican because I speak such good English." This makes sense because Mexican Americans are not uncommon at Loy Norix, in the high school she goes to in the United States, and Alexa has a perfect accent, so people just assume that she's from the US. Alexa agrees with me when I say that sometimes the most harmful stereotypes are attributed to Mexicans who don't speak English at all or who speak English very poorly. And this conversation made me think about why people in the US look down on people that only speak Spanish. Why does Alexa have to have such a perfect accent in order to not have the negative stereotypes attributed to her? Why don't Americans learn Spanish more often? Because we always expect, Mexican people to learn our language for us. And this interaction made me fully realize how wrong it is to discriminate against people for speaking any language, and how looking down on people for speaking Spanish in the US invalidates Spanish as a form of communication and discriminates against Mexican people. I asked her how her school in Mexico taught about other cultures, and they largely examined European countries and Mesopotamia, and didn't really talk about American or Canadian culture. And Alexa said that she learned a lot about Mexican culture, though, mostly, and that was the main focus. I also wanted to know how her classes in the US were teaching about other cultures. When I asked her that, she expressed that in her US history class, they don't really teach about other cultures, and this is shocking because there are many diverse cultural groups that have shaped the United States history. And this made me think about, how narrow-minded and bigoted Americans can be about their way of life. Like, the US has been notoriously racist, homophobic, transphobic, you name it. And it makes me wonder if Americans seeing everything only from one cultural point of view is actually the result of an education system that teaches children that an American perspective is the only point of view worth studying. And the conversation made me realize that the way the United States teaches about other cultures can be narrow-minded, even though we boast freedom and equal rights so often. Through this experience of learning about the United States from the United States perspective, I think I'd argue that Alexa has become more disconnected from her American identity, and because she sees American culture, because of how it's being presented to her at school, and she just sees it as, this imperialistic thing where people think it's okay to take other cultures from other people and oppress other people. And she sees that, Mexican culture is very different, and it's mostly about, being free from Spain and all this independent stuff, while American culture is focused around making everybody like them. And so this is a really interesting conversation where I learned about how other cultures are taught in different contexts of the country. So it was a really great conversation. Thanks.